Welcome to Hot Topics Live, everyone. In today's Hot Topics training, we're going to be talking about how to stand out in a crowded marketplace. So, if you ever feel like the home bakery market is just saturated, like there are so many bakers trying to sell their products right now, today's Hot Topics is going to teach you very usable, actionable tips that you're going to want to do to help yourself stand out from the rest of the bakers in your area. So, if that sounds like something you're interested in, then stick around. I've got lots of resources for you for how to stand out in what some people say is a saturated marketplace. So let's jump right in. Welcome to the Hot Topics. If you are joining me for the very first time, this training takes place live every Monday at 2 p.m. Central Time, and we talk about the business side of baking. So two of my favorite topics, and so what better way to talk about business and baking than standing out in a crowded marketplace. So if you are ready to learn some strategies, that's what we're talking about today. So before I jump into some of these things that you're really going to want to put into place, I wanted to share a little story about when I was first getting myself established as a brick and mortar bakery shop owner. So I used the services of the Small Business Development Center, and that is a resource that provides counseling and training for entrepreneurs in all stages of their business. And I was so excited because like many of you, I was so ready to finally open my own business, and I felt super prepared. So when I went down for my first meeting at the SBDC office, I thought we were going to sit down and talk about like all of my baking resume and how ready I was to, or how capable I was to, bake lots of stuff. But what we actually started talking about was questions that I had never thought to ask myself. So they made me look at my business much differently. And what did they ask me about? Market research. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're talking about how researching the market that you're in can help you to improve your own business. And so often we get these sort of like blinders on about running a baking business because it's all about your creativity and your original ideas and your artistry and all of that. And what oftentimes needs to happen is this like bigger picture type of inspection of where you're at. And so this market research concept caught me off guard when I was getting started because I really was focusing on hyping myself up. Like, am I qualified to do this? Could I bake 5 days in a row, 8 hours a day? Did I have the recipes? Did I have the technical ability? That's where my head was at. And so after this meeting with the Small Business Development Center, I think I looked at opening my business from a slightly different lens. And that's what I'd like to invite you to do today as well. And this is not, by the way, this is not for bakers who are just getting started. You can do these tips in any stage of your business. So I started out by talking about this saturated marketplace and how can you distinguish yourself from everyone else. Well, the first thing that I would invite you to do is to really study your competition. And if you're anything like me, I like to just kind of stay in my lane and do my thing and hope that people appreciate what I do and want to buy it. It is not in my nature to look at my competition and see what they're doing, but it is beneficial. So if you're anything like me and you just want to live and let live, you do you and I'll do me and we'll all be fine. Well, I want to invite you to actually look at your competition because that in itself can tell you things about yourself and what you can do better. So watching your competition can tell you a lot about how you can improve your own business. And here are some things to look for. So how is your competition the same as you? Start to look for similarities. So I would start to search the home-based bakers in my area that service the same geographical area as me. And you can do this by doing just a Facebook search, because a lot of these bakers are advertising on Facebook, and you can literally just search within Facebook and come up with a lot of local bakers who, like I said, are selling on Facebook. You could also search Facebook Marketplace. And Marketplace is another way you can list your baked goods for sale. So if you can find a listing from another baker, then you can start to make a list of who these other bakers are. Now I want you to start to look at how they're similar to you. What are they selling? What does their menu look like? Things like that, and start to gather facts about your competition. And I will tell you, it's not always a comfortable feeling. When I opened my second cupcake store, it was on a very, very popular main street that, had a lot of pedestrian traffic, about half a mile long Main Street. And I was really gutted to learn one day, about 3 months after I opened, that another cupcake store opened down at the end of that Main Street. And I didn't want to know anything about them. I was just like, we're going to just do what we do, but better. And one of my employees was like, can I, do a payout for $20 and go down there and buy some of their cupcakes so we can taste it? And I was like, I don't want to do that. But it was really a learning experience. So just really analyzing your competition can tell you a lot about your own self. So how are they similar to you? So in this case, I was looking at the other store and saying, what do they sell their cupcakes for? What do I sell mine for? How quickly do they move their people through the store? I mean, those are questions that matter to me, but you'll come up with your own. Then start to look for how your competition is different from you. So do they have a completely different menu? Do they have social media down well? Or do they not excel at social media? Do they only offer sales during the seasons, the seasonal, holidays, or do they appear to be taking orders every weekend? You really want to find out as much as you can. What is your customer's pricing structure like? This was a really big learning moment for me when my employee went down to the other cupcake store and bought their cupcakes. She was like, it's really weird the way they price them. It's by weight, and they frost it for you, and you tell them stop. Like, it was just a strange concept, but I didn't know that that's how they were doing it. And as a result of that, they were getting these really long lines, which made it look like they were really busy, when in reality, it was just because they were custom frosting every cupcake. That made us really different. Now, what did I do with that information? This is where the power of market research comes in. When you find out differences between yourself and your competition, you can then use that to market yourself. So you want to look at their pricing structure, and you want to look at your pricing structure. If you don't have confidence in your pricing, if you are at that stage of baking where you've tried to position yourself in the middle of the market, like, I'm going to pick a price that everyone else is doing, then I would encourage you to learn a little bit more about how to price your baked goods, because that guessing approach is not sustainable. You can't really push an item. You don't know how much profit you make off of it. And it's not a good model to build your business on, because you don't know if you're making a profit. So be sure to check out in the welcome post a link to one of my resources for pricing. I have many, but if you need more pricing help, be sure to check out that welcome post, and I'll try to drop a link over in the chat as well. So what does their pricing structure look like? Is your competition's price too low? This tells you a lot about your competition when they're underpriced. because it probably means that they don't know how to price their baked goods either. People who don't know how to price their baked goods, who have guessed or are doing it too low, will not survive in this home baking business boom. It's not sustainable to guess at your prices. And for bakers who have guessed too low, it won't be long before they realize that they can't sustain at that level. They're not making a profit. They're losing money. And you can find out information about them just by looking at how they price their baked goods. So again, check out the welcome post or the link over in the comments if you need some more help pricing, but look at your customer's pricing strategy to learn a little bit more about them as a baker. Then you want to check out what their strengths are. What does it appear that they do really well? Are they just killing it out at the farmer's market every day? Do they seem, or every weekend, do they seem like they sell high volume? What does it appear from their social media messaging that their strengths are? And are those complementary strengths to yours or those competing strengths? And then I want you to look at what their weaknesses are. And this is the part that I always have a hard time with. In the past, I just don't want to look at my competition and critique them. I want them to just do their thing. But by knowing your competition's weakness, that then tells you how to position yourself as somebody who does something better than them. So if I were looking at, I almost said stalking, if I were stalking a home-based baker, if I were analyzing the marketplace with my fellow home-based bakers, and I noticed that the weakness was clearly decorated cakes, that one of them has some cakes, but they're not at the experience level that I decorate at. And another one has, some baked goods that are clearly priced too low, and it doesn't look like they're at a sustainable pricing model. Then I could summarize that there is this area in the market for high quality decorated cakes that are going to be around for a while. So I can learn a lot about what the market needs just by looking at my competition. Now, at the beginning of this Hot Topics, I talked about how you can use this to help yourself stand out from the other bakers. So how does that actually start to happen? How do you start to stand out? Well, after you've done some market research, you should be able to create your own brand identity and separate yourself from the competition. So after doing this, after looking around at your competition, what is it about you that you either already know is your brand or you want to be your brand that separates you from everyone else? So we'll use the cake decorating example that I just did before. My brand identity might be, I am your go-to custom cake baker, right? That's my identity. And then I also should have a good idea about the best area to do business in. So having looked at all the other bakers around, I can see that, there's one baker, but she's 30 miles away. And I know that this area, I can't find anybody else offering custom cakes. So I will have a good idea about the area that I want to do business in. And then while you're not stalking, while you're doing market research on other bakers, you can also try to pick up on any market trends. So is there something that everybody's offering? Is there something that nobody's offering? You should have an idea of if there's an item that you need to try to add to your menu because it appears that this is selling well for everyone. And is that something that you want to think about offering? And then by the end of this, you should also know your own customers' preferences. So I have a blog post where I go into more detail about your market research and actually looking at your customers and what they want from you. So if you want to go deep into the market research, this is, like I said, at the Small Business Development Center, this is where we started, was looking at the market and really defining it and how I was going to fit into it. So if you're interested in doing something like that as well, I'm going to drop the link for that blog post on market research. And you should also have, at the end of this market research project, you should have a really good understanding of your own competition strategies. So what does that mean? That really means, how do you brand yourself to stand out, knowing the competition around you? So this strategy that you're going to develop is completely based on the feedback that you get from looking at your competition. Now, I'm curious if this is something that you have done already, or you're thinking you might want to do, that this could really help you to stand out in the marketplace by identifying what your competition is doing and not doing, so that you can really make your own baking business stand out. So let me know. We're going to continue the conversation over in the Facebook group. If you're interested in doing a little bit more research on your competition, jump in on that conversation and let me know what your questions are there. I hope you enjoyed today's topic. A little bit different, but definitely something that I think can really help you in today's home baking marketplace. So thank you so much for joining. I'm going to answer all your comments in the chat now, and I look forward to seeing you next Monday at same time, same place, Hot Topic